Greetings. My name is Carolyn, and a pivotal moment reshaped my life when my husband, Stephen, left me behind with his sick parents to enjoy a 3-year holiday. Little did I know his return was merely to lay claim to his inheritance. However, destiny had a surprise in store, and what followed was an episode of sweet, gratifying revenge. Once, Stephen and I shared what I believed was a profound connection. Our journey began on a dating app. After losing my previous husband to cancer following a prolonged illness and spending 6 years in mourning, friends nudged me towards the dating scene again. Stephen and I exchanged messages for a while before we decided to meet, leading to a series of dates that culminated in his proposal 3 years later. Stephen was thoughtful enough to include my daughter, Teresa, in every aspect of our lives. Teresa, who was only 5 when her biological father died, formed an immediate bond with Stephen. They became inseparable, and for me, it felt like a dream come true. Together, we envisioned grand dreams of a joyous life, raising Teresa, buying our own home, and traveling the world. 8 years into our marriage, Stephen's parents, Judy and Roy, became gravely ill, requiring constant care and medical attention. Stephen approached me with a significant request regarding their care. "Carolyn, I have something important to ask," Stephen started, a hint of nervousness in his voice. "What is it, Stephen?" I responded, already concerned by the tone of the conversation. "Well, you know my parents aren't doing well," he said. "Yes, I'm aware. It's heartbreaking, and I wish there was something we could do to help them," I replied, empathy filling my voice. "That's just it, Carolyn. They're my parents, and I can't turn my back on them now. They need extensive care, and neither of them is in a position to look after the other," Stephen explained. I nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. "I know, Stephen. That's why we thought putting them in a nursing home would be best. They would receive the care they need. If you're worried about the cost, we'll manage somehow," I reassured him. "No, it's not the cost. I was thinking along different lines," Stephen said, hesitating. "What are you suggesting, Stephen? Just tell me," I urged, bracing myself for what was to come. Stephen approached me with a significant request, wondering if we could have his parents move in with us for care. "Stephen, I'm not sure," I hesitated, feeling overwhelmed. "Between work and taking care of Teresa, it's a lot already. I want to help, but—" "Don't worry, Carolyn," Stephen reassured me. "You won't be handling everything on your own. They're my parents, so I'll be right there with you, putting in as much work, if not more. I promise." Convinced by his commitment, I agreed. "All right, let's do it. I care a lot for Judy and Roy, and I think Teresa would be thrilled to have her grandparents close by." "Thank you, Carolyn. I won't let you down," Stephen promised. Having previously cared for my late husband, I was no stranger to the demands of caregiving. Judy was battling a severe autoimmune disease, leaving her bedridden and in need of specialized care. Roy faced a chronic heart condition requiring regular monitoring and medication adjustments. Their health quickly became our primary focus, requiring continuous attention. Stephen initially seemed dedicated as we invested fully in managing work, parenting, and caring for his parents. The journey was fraught with challenges, from sleepless nights to endless hospital visits, but our commitment to Judy and Roy drove us. For a time, we leaned on each other for strength. However, Stephen's commitment began to fade. Missed medical appointments and growing disinterest signaled a change. The impact on Judy and Roy was visible, and my heart ached for them. As time passed, Stephen's retreat from his caregiving duties became glaring. His absences explained away as business trips left me to shoulder the increasing burden alone. Judy and Roy's health worsened, and their disappointment in their son's neglect was heart-wrenching. 3 years into our caregiving journey, Stephen announced another business trip, this time for 3 weeks. This led to a significant argument between him and Teresa, marking a turning point in our ordeal. A heated exchange erupted between us as Stephen prepared to leave again. "Stephen, how can you just leave us at a time like this? Your parents need us, and you're just walking away as if it doesn't matter," I protested, frustration boiling over. "Oh, here we go again. Why am I always painted as the villain?" "I have crucial work to attend to, Carolyn. It's not like I'm leaving them forever," Stephen retorted, his voice tinged with defensiveness. "Dad, you can't keep doing this. Grandma and Grandpa need us, and you're always gone. It's not fair to them or us," Teresa chimed in, her disappointment clear. Stephen, seemingly cornered, responded with a mix of frustration and justification. "Do you think I enjoy being away? That I don't understand the situation? I have my own set of responsibilities. I can't just abandon everything at the drop of a hat because they're ill." "Responsibilities? Stephen, what responsibilities are you talking about? You've been absent for so long, and meanwhile, your parents' health is deteriorating, and you seem indifferent." "It's as if you don't care," I accused, the hurt evident in my voice. "How dare you say I don't care? I'm trying to balance everything. My career, our family. It's not easy to manage everything at once," Stephen argued, attempting to defend his actions. "It's not about balancing, Dad. It's about prioritizing your family when they need you the most." "But it seems you're always putting yourself first," Teresa added, her words heavy with emotion. "I'm doing this for us, for a better future. Can't you see that?" Stephen claimed, but his words fell on deaf ears. "A better future? By abandoning your parents in their time of need? You're tearing this family apart, Stephen," I countered, the disappointment weighing heavily between us. "Maybe if you were taking better care of them, I wouldn't need to step away so often." "You're quick to judge, but you're not without fault," Stephen snapped back, his frustration peaking. "That's not true, Dad. Mom has been here, taking care of Grandma and Grandpa, doing everything she can. You're the one who's been absent," Teresa defended, standing firmly by my side. "Teresa's right, Stephen. I've given everything I could to care for your parents. I assumed you'd stand by me, but it seems I was mistaken," I said, the sorrow in my voice unmistakable. "Perhaps I'm tired of always putting others first. Maybe I need to prioritize my own needs for once." "It looks like you'll have to manage without me," Stephen declared, his tone indicating he had reached his limit. "Is this it then? You're walking away from your parents?" I asked, disbelief coloring my voice. It's time I took a step back to reassess everything. This isn't the life I envisioned for myself. I need space to think, Stephen concluded, his resolve firm. Without another word, Stephen retreated to our bedroom, hastily packing his belongings. His departure left a void, a stark reminder of the strains within our family, as Teresa and I watched in silence. After Stephen's departure, a profound sense of guilt washed over me, leaving me to wonder if I was the cause of his exit. Night after night, Teresa and I would share our tears and frustrations, attempting to reach out to him, but our efforts were fruitless. What was supposed to be a brief 3 weeks extended into months, further deepening our sorrow. Judy and Roy, devastated by their son's absence, saw their health decline even more, making my role as their sole caregiver increasingly challenging. The relentless cycle of hospital visits, managing medications, and keeping up with household tasks became my new normal. As months turned into a year, I resolved to move beyond my grief over losing Stephen's presence in our lives. My focus sharpened on caring for my in-laws and supporting my daughter, even though the task was daunting, often leaving me without a moment's rest. Yet, within this whirlwind of responsibilities, I found strength. The love I held for Judy and Roy, alongside my commitment to their well-being, propelled me forward. Stephen's absence transformed me into a beacon of resilience for Judy, Roy, and Teresa. Time passed, and my expertise in caregiving deepened. Judy and Roy came to see me not just as a family by marriage, but as their steadfast supporter, their primary caregiver. Our bond strengthened and built on a foundation of my unwavering dedication to their needs. Teresa, despite her youth, emerged as an incredible source of support. Her empathy and understanding went beyond her years, providing comfort not just to me, but to her grandparents as well. Our collective efforts forged a sanctuary of love and mutual support amidst the turmoil. 3 years after Stephen walked away, driven by a surprising greed, he came back, eyeing the inheritance left by his parents. However, he was unaware that the tables had turned. During his absence, Judy and Roy had entrusted me with managing their financial and legal matters, safeguarding their legacy from any potential threats. They decided that the estate initially intended for Stephen would now be passed to Teresa and me, a decision made out of profound trust and recognition of my devotion. This act of trust and love from Judy and Roy not only fortified our family bond, but also prepared us to face Stephen's return and his motives with a united front. Our journey had transformed us, knitting us closer through the trials and cementing our commitment to each other above all else. I went above and beyond in my role, not just fulfilling their requests, but also adding my touch of care and attention. This made me feel genuinely valued, especially during the countless hours spent rearranging their documents and ensuring their comfort. Despite the circumstances, I wasn't inclined to leave Stephen with nothing. I understood the immense pressure caregiving could exert and thought it fair to leave him a modest portion of the inheritance as a gesture of goodwill. This consideration, however, was quickly overturned when the private investigator I had hired shed light on Stephen's activities during his absence. My decision to hire a detective wasn't made on a whim. I had grown increasingly suspicious of Stephen's motives long before he left, particularly because of his growing disinterest in his parents and his barrage of excuses. Driven by this intuition, I decided to dig deeper. My investigation into our financial dealings uncovered several unexplained transactions to an unidentified account. When I confronted Stephen about these findings, it led to one of our most heated exchanges. "Stephen, we need to talk. I've noticed some unusual financial transactions. Can you explain them to me?" I asked, seeking clarity. "Why are you prying into matters that don't concern you? It's none of your business," Stephen snapped back, his defensiveness raising red flags. "These transactions could impact your parents' welfare. It's my business too. Are you hiding something?" I pressed, hoping for transparency. Stephen's frustration boiled over. "Stop interrogating me. Can't you just trust me for once?" "Trust you? Your parents are dependent on us, and if you're involved in something risky, it's my right to know. It affects all of us," I countered, emphasizing the seriousness of the situation. "You're making a mountain out of a molehill, Carolyn. You're always assuming the worst," Stephen retorted, dismissing my concerns. The tension escalated. "Don't you see your lack of interest in your parents, these mysterious transactions? They point to something amiss. We should be working together on this," I argued, trying to remind him of our partnership. "There's nothing to discuss, Carolyn. I'm sick of your accusations and meddling. Maybe it's best if I leave," Stephen suggested, hinting at a drastic solution. "Leave? You'd abandon your family just because you won't clarify a simple issue? Is this who you are now?" I asked, shocked by his willingness to walk away. Stephen's patience had run out. "I can't stand your constant doubts and suspicion. If you can't trust me, perhaps it's better if we part ways," he concluded, his words cutting deep. This confrontation laid bare the extent of Stephen's deceit and his dwindling involvement in his parental duties. The discovery of his deceitful actions only added to the growing chasm between us, underscoring the necessity of my vigilance and the private investigator's insights into Stephen's true character. Opting to hire a private investigator felt like a drastic step at first, and initially, the reports returned mundane, everyday details. This left me feeling guilty, wondering if I'd made a hasty decision driven by unwarranted suspicion. Balancing the care of my in-laws, raising my daughter, and dealing with this guilt led me to dismiss the investigator. Yet Stephen's sudden departure, leaving us without any explanation, prompted me to rehire the investigator, instructing him to gather information quietly until I deemed it necessary. This decision was almost forgotten amidst the daily routines, until Judy and Roy mentioned their legal affairs. With fresh insights now at my disposal, I promised myself that if Stephen dared return, he would face the consequences of his actions. True to my word, upon Stephen's return, I was ready. He waltzed into our home as if his absence hadn't left a gaping wound in our lives, ignoring his parents and barely acknowledging Teresa. His first words to me demanded his share of the inheritance as if nothing else mattered. "Are you serious, Stephen? Your first concern is the inheritance. No word for your parents, no acknowledgement of the pain your absence caused, just your claim to what you believe is yours?" I confronted him, incredulous at his audacity. Stephen dismissed the need for any sentimentality, arguing he left to pursue his interests and was now back to claim his inheritance, suggesting I should be grateful for his return. Grateful? For what, Stephen? For abandoning your parents when they needed you most? For leaving me to manage everything alone? "You have some nerve," I retorted, my anger rising. Stephen accused me of enjoying the role of the martyr, insisting that he had worked hard for the inheritance and therefore had every right to it. Worked hard? Do you call abandoning your suffering parents working hard? They needed their son, and you chose to turn away, I shot back, emphasizing the heartache his actions had caused. Stephen coldly suggested they were well taken care of with me around, claiming it wasn't solely his responsibility to look after them as he had his own life to lead. "What about our life, Stephen? What about the commitments we made to each other and to our family? You've neglected us, betrayed the very essence of those vows," I argued, pointing out the depth of his betrayal. Stephen, unfazed, accused me of overreacting and dismissed my feelings as theatrics, showing a complete lack of remorse for his actions. His response only solidified my resolve to stand up for what was right for Judy, Roy, Teresa, and myself, regardless of the challenges that lay ahead. Asserting his claim with a sense of entitlement, Stephen made it clear that he would pursue his share of the inheritance, undeterred by my objections. His blatant arrogance and disregard for the family's well-being were evident, but I stood firm in my resolve. "Stephen, your true nature is now undeniable. Your indifference has hurt us deeply, but I will not allow you to exploit your parents. They are entitled to more respect and care than you've ever shown," I countered, determined to protect their legacy. "Good luck trying to stop me, Carolyn. You're going to realize it's not that simple. I always secure what's mine," Stephen retorted, smugly confident he could bulldoze his way through any opposition. His smirking confidence was something I ached to challenge, knowing well that his arrogance was soon to meet a decisive blow. When the moment came to reveal the contents of his parents' wills, I watched as Stephen's smugness dissolved into disbelief and anger. His name was nowhere to be found, a testament to his neglect and the choices his parents made in response. Enraged and blindsided, Stephen accused me of manipulating his parents, unaware of the full extent of his failings that led to this moment. I kept my ace, the detailed account of his abandonment and negligence, close to my chest, simply requesting him to leave our home. As predicted, Stephen's frustration and wounded pride propelled him to file a lawsuit against me, a desperate attempt to regain some control and salvage his bruised ego. Throughout the trial, Stephen spewed venomous lies, twisting the narrative to paint himself as a wronged victim. His portrayal was a calculated act meant to garner sympathy and manipulate the outcome of the trial. However, the strength of truth and evidence in a court of law is undeniable. The proof I provided painted a clear picture of my dedication to Judy and Roy. Through witness statements and medical and financial documents, the extent of my care and the sacrifices made for their well-being were laid bare for all to see. As the trial progressed, the sincerity of my actions and the depth of Stephen's deceit became evident. His fabrications began to unravel, exposing the baselessness of his claims. One by one, his allegations fell apart, leaving him floundering in the face of overwhelming evidence against him. This battle, fought not just for the sake of inheritance, but for dignity and respect, underscored the value of truth and integrity against deceit and selfishness. But my pursuit of justice didn't end with the courtroom victory. The win alone wasn't enough for me. I wanted Stephen to fully comprehend the depth of his actions. When it was my turn to testify, I chose to lay bare the truth I had uncovered, thanks to my diligent private investigator. With a voice steady and strong, I detailed the years of neglect his parents endured, the countless nights I stayed awake ensuring their comfort, and the sacrifices made for their sake. I painted a clear picture of Stephen's abandonment, emphasizing his pursuit of selfish desires over the welfare of his own family. Then came the revelation that shocked everyone in the courtroom. Stephen's so-called business trips and vacations were a facade for his affair with another woman, leaving his family in ruins for his gratification. Stephen's defense scrambled, attempting to dismiss my claims as fabrications, yet the evidence was overwhelming. Text messages, emails, photographs, and financial records all pointed to the undeniable truth. Stephen was left speechless, his secrets now exposed for all to see. But I didn't stop there. My lawyer introduced a surprise witness, Stephen's secret partner. The moment she took the stand, the color drained from Stephen's face, a clear sign of his guilt. It became evident that Stephen had not been fully honest with his legal team, as his lawyer's expressions fluctuated between disbelief and disapproval. I had learned that Stephen's partner was none other than an ex-girlfriend from before our time together. Upon discovering her identity and her role in Stephen's double life, I reached out to her and we conspired to keep her involvement a secret until the trial to avoid arousing Stephen's suspicion. She agreed to testify against him, revealing their rekindled romance that began 4 years prior, their living arrangement under the pretense of a job transfer, and Stephen's false narrative of an impending inheritance. In a dramatic turn, she confronted Stephen in the courtroom, discarding the ring he had given her, severing ties with him publicly. The entire courtroom was shaken by the revelations, especially Judy and Roy. Already weakened by their health conditions, they were visibly distraught by the betrayal, engulfed by a mix of disappointment and grief. This unveiling not only condemned Stephen's actions, but also highlighted the consequences of his choices, leaving a lasting impact on all who witnessed it. The truth, stark and unforgiving, had finally come to light, offering a semblance of justice to those wronged by his deceit. Winning the case wasn't enough for me. I felt Stephen needed to truly understand the impact of his actions, so I stood up in court and shared everything I found out from my investigator. I talked about how hard I worked to care for his sick parents, the sleepless nights, and the sacrifices I made. Then I revealed Stephen had left us for another woman, shattering our family for selfish reasons. Stephen's lawyer tried to deny my claims, but we had solid proof. Texts, emails, photos, and more showing Stephen's true actions. When his affair partner was called as a surprise witness, Stephen was shocked. It seemed he hadn't been completely honest with his lawyer. I discovered the woman was Stephen's ex and reached out to her. We agreed she'd act normal around Stephen until the trial to avoid suspicion. On the stand, she shared how Stephen contacted her years ago, saying he missed her. They got back together and he moved in with her, hiding the fact he was married and had abandoned his parents. He even lied about expecting a big inheritance from his parents. In court, she confronted Stephen, threw her engagement ring at him, and told him to never contact her again. This revelation deeply affected everyone, especially Judy and Roy, who were already weakened by their illnesses. They felt a mix of disappointment and sadness seeing the extent of Stephen's betrayal.